Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all well. Thank you all for joining me and thank you to my new subscribers. It really is lovely to have you on board. Now, the idea with my YouTube channel is that I offer you inspiration using my designs and a mixed media range of products and mediums. So today I'm back with another one of my snippets. I'm going to be doing a series, not one after the other, but here, there and everywhere, in mixed with all my other designs and samples. I'm going to be creating a series of cards or projects that are more simplified and take less time for those of you that don't have much time to craft or just like to craft half an hour here and there. But this is for everybody, so I'm trying to incorporate everybody to inspire those of you that like to do more detailed projects and those of you that just have half an hour to spare. So I'm going to start by using Friendship Florals, stamp set 648, and I'm going to be using this flower image here, this flower image here, and the blue tit image. And what I want you to do is I want you to cut 3 pieces of card that are 2 inches in width and 6 inches in length. So 2 inches in width and 6 inches in length. And I want you to cut 3 of those. So I want you to just cut 3. And then I'm going to bring in my cutter, which is going to be really easy, but I'm going to leave one as it is. And then I'm going to cut the other 2 just so they look differently. And I'm going to bring in my cutter just so that you can see me do that, which is really easy because I don't have a mini cutter. I've had this cutter for years. And what I'm going to do is cut one piece. Let me cut one piece, let's say 3 inches in this piece. And it's not really easy. So I've cut it at 3 inches, which means that because it's 6 inches long, it's cut in half. Okay. And then you're going to take the other one and you're going to cut that. Let's cut that at 2 inches. 2 inches. Which is really easy on a desk that isn't just designed for a large cutter. So the idea is that we're doing snippets. So you've cut one in half at 3 inches. And the other one you're leaving the same, and the other one you've cut at 2 inches and then you've got 4 inches left, so that you've got different ones. Okay, just so that it gives you a whole different look. And what I want you to do is take the one that we haven't cut, and we're going to use our black ink. So we're going to use our VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, which is black ink. Let's grab a piece of scrap paper. Let's be mindful that we're going to go over, so we'll use a piece of scrap paper. So we're going to ink our stamp. Just make sure you ink that stamp with a good layer of ink, as we always do. Just make sure it's a good layer of ink. And I've got the date on my VersaFine Clair just so I know how long it's going to last. It's just what I do. So what I'm going to do is just stamp part of this flower onto this 2-inch wide strip that's 6 inches in length. So I'm just stamping part of the flower. And what I'm trying to do is trying to give you as many ideas as possible. Sometimes it's difficult to think up new ideas all the time, but I am just trying my best just to give you some different ideas, some different snippets. And the idea is that this video, again, like my previous video, it's a project that won't take you as long. So I don't want that like that. So let's lift this one up a bit, like so, just so it's in a slightly different place. So again, just adding even pressure to the stamp, just allowing that ink to rest on the card just so that it absorbs into the card. and I'm using my AALLandCreate acrylic blocks. So this is your one that's 6 inches by 2 inches and we haven't cut it. So then I want you to bring in the next piece. I'm just turning over the card so you can see what I'm stamping. This is the one that is 2 inches and 4 inches in length. And what we will do is we will add our bird image, which is the blue tit, and we'll ink that blue tit. And I'm just inking it all because I'm not sure whereabouts I'm going to add the blue tit, so it's nice just to add the whole image. So I'm just going to add that blue tit there, like so. And what I'm trying to show you is that you can use your stamps in lots of different ways. And in lots of simple ways as well. They don't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a complicated technique. So that's the bird on there, and let's stamp the bird on the 2-inch piece. So we'll just ink the stamp up again. Again using my acrylic block, and this time on the 2-inch piece. So I'll have part of the bird on there, like so. And just take your time, just allow that ink to sit on there. I know these are meant to be shorter videos, but that doesn't mean you want to rush the process. So there's your other 2 pieces. So let's just move these out of the way. Let's move those up there just a little bit. And then let's bring in the other piece where we split them completely in half. So they were both 3 inches in length, sorry, 3 inches in length. And then we're going to use the other flower. So let's ink our stamp up again. So just take your time and ink that stamp up. And we will just have that like so. Again, allowing that ink to sit. Just because you want to create a quick card, you still want good quality results. So allow that ink to sit on there. And I'm curling that acrylic block just to give me the pressure in the centre area. So that's one piece. Let's now take the next piece. Are you impressed that I'm not putting all the black ink on my non-stick craft sheet like I normally do? And I'm putting a piece of copier paper down. Make the most of it. It won't happen forever. It's only because I'm using small pieces of card. So this one, let's just tilt it this way so it looks a little bit different. So just pressing that on there, giving it good even pressure, and then I'm going to lift the acrylic block, curl it just so that I got that good impression. So let me show you what we've got now. So we've got the 2 flowers, the 2 birds, okay, and then you've got the, what's the word, Tracy spit it out, and then you've got the other flower on there, okay. And what I want you to do is just make sure that it's not going to smudge. Just make sure that's not going to smudge. Just press it on there. So this is what you've got so far, okay. And before we do anything else, I think we'll just add a little bit more detail. Not to that flower one because that's got enough detail on. Let's just add a little bit of detail to these, especially the bird. So I'm going to take a little bit of black ink and I'm going to use, it does help if I show you the stamp set. It's stamp set 663 and it's Garden Mashup. So I'm just going to ink up some of that Garden Mashup. And I'm just going to add a little bit of that text just just to the outer edge, just like so, just so it gives a little bit of detail. And then we'll take this part as well and just add a little bit of text here, just to this side. And I love the fact that this stamp, we can just add me a little bit of detail that I want. I can see that that ink is still wet. Let's just grab a wipe. You see, and this is why if you put the copier paper down, you don't have to keep wiping up. So we really should put the copier paper down because that really does help. Okay, let's put that copier paper down. And my fingers are getting in a bit of an inky mess because I'm inking up different parts of the stamp. So they're just getting a little bit inky, but that's absolutely fine. That's all part of it. So let's just add the word poppy there. So I can use this garden mashup just to add little different details. And then I can add a little bit of detail on this bit. Just to add, you forget where you've just type where you've inked. There we go. And you can just add that. So what I'm going to do is just pull that stamp, just move it out of the way. Move that copier paper out of the way. Just give my hands a little bit of a wipe. And what you can do now, let me just bring these in. So there we go. So what I'm going to do is now add a little bit more detail to these. So we're just going to take our, see, I've got so many stamps in the way now. We're going to, let's move these out the way. Let's just move these out the way. We're just going to take a little bit of the Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink. Just make sure your water brush is not got any colour on there. And I'm just going to add a little bit of water just around here. Just a little bit. Just around the flower. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to load my brush and then I'm just going to apply some of that Hickory Smoke just around the outside. Have I got a brush that's a little bit finer? That's a flat brush. I'm now getting a little bit pernickety. Yes, I think that's a little bit finer. Yeah. So let me just make sure that's clean. So pick up the grey and just add some of that grey. Just blend it out. And if you add the water first, like I did, it's just like doing wet on wet. And we're just adding a little bit of shading just around the flower. So you're not colouring in the flower, you're colouring around the flower. And I don't want much colour on this because this is going to be a background, believe it or not. We're just creating this as our background piece. And the idea is that you don't need to be a colourist. You can just add a little touch of that grey. So you've got that grey on the first one. And I will show them all together. So what I'm going to do now is take the bird and the Hickory Smoke. Excuse me. I think I've got a dry throat. or it could be just too much talking. I mean, let's face it. So just going to pick up that grey and just blend that out. And it's to show that your images, even if they're just stamped in black and white with a touch of shading, normally I do the grey shading colouring the images, but it goes to show you that you don't have to do that. You can colour the outside as well. Leonie actually coloured one of my flowers by colouring the outside of the image on her Let Leonie Loose show. It's a technique that many of us have done over the years, but it's nice to revisit techniques, and if you're inspired by somebody, to say that you're inspired by somebody, but maybe just change it a little bit. Just change the idea up a little bit so that then you pass on a different idea as well. So just adding the grey just around the outside. And as you can see, I'm not taking, it's not like I'm worried about it being perfect. I'm just blending that in. I'm not being too precise. So we'll just place that, just add a little bit there. Can't pick the pieces of card up. And then take the next one. Let's add some water. Obviously that water brush has got grey on because that's what we've been using. So it's got the grey on there. But I'm just adding water as well, just so that it blends a little bit more. Then I'll just pick up that ink, and then because I've just picked up that ink, when you first pick it up it's quite dark, so go around the edges first while you've got the darkness of the ink, and then when it starts to get lighter you can go and blend the dark areas out. So as it gets lighter, blend that out and blend this out. Pick up if you need it a little bit darker inside where the flower is. Just blend that out. There we go. Then bring the next one in. And what we can do is we can add more of the grey should we need to. Should we need to add more of that. And you can do this technique with lots of things. If you don't have the distress oxides, you can do this technique with a HB pencil, with a charcoal pencil, and also with your pastel pencils, and also with your Inktense, just so that you realise that you don't have to be limited just because a certain person, like me, uses a certain product, doesn't mean you have to be restricted by that product. So you can just blend that out. Just blend this out. Also, always be aware that if you're doing something like the water techniques, make sure that you've got a card that is going to allow you to do those water techniques. If your card doesn't allow you to do those water techniques, well then the ink won't blend out. So just make sure that you've got the right card. Right, let's just wipe that out for the second, and let's bring in our black card. So this piece of black card is 6.5 inches square. And what I want you to do is place that onto the card. Don't stick it down initially, just place it on. Just so that you can see where you need to place it. So just take your time, don't be in too much of a rush. And then place this. But it's better if you place it down first, because you can judge all your spacing. Your spacing is then a lot more simplified. And what we will probably do is add the centre one first. And if we get that centre one first in the right place. Can I get the centre one right? No, of course I can't. But if you get the centre one right, you can judge then your other spaces. So bring this down a little bit. Bring that down a bit. You do need to faff a little bit. Don't be in too much of a rush. You've got to faff a little bit. And also it plays with your eyes a little bit. So you do need to faff. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to put the central one down. I'm going to stick that down. So just take my adhesive and place that one down. And just take your time. Don't press it down initially. Just get your other one in place before you stick anything down. Like so. Let me just take your time and just place that one down. And then you can judge where your others are going. So let's now put this one, which is our long piece. And what you can do, the idea of these snippets is that you can leave it at certain stages. So it's entirely up to you. So we've hit the 20-minute mark. So this really would be finished, your 20-minute card finished. But I just want to add a little bit something to it. So just the idea with the snippets is that it's a simplified card, not necessarily about the minutes on the clock, but that the technique is simplified for you. Okay. And the idea is that you pick up a little technique as well. So the idea is that would be your card done. You'd then add this to a 7 by 7 inch card blank. So we'll do that. So the idea then is that you can call that done with a sentiment, and that would be your card finished. And that would be a short card. But what I also want to do on these videos is also show you how you can take it up a level. So if you want a simple card, there's your simple card. Simple technique, done. But I want to take it a little step further, because I want to show you both. So what I want you to do now, these snippets are also, yes, that's your card done, it's finished, there's your snippet. But what I also want to do is show you how you can take this card up a level. Because I want to offer as much interest as possible. So there's the snippet for those of you that have only got 20 minutes spare. So there's your 20-minute card. For those of you who want to add a little bit more, we're going to add a little bit more. So we're just going to take our flower that was also stamped in the background. Now I'm showing you how you can extend that design if you've got more time. I'm also, for those of you that can only do snippets, you can split this up into 2. So do 20 minutes one day and do the next part the next day. Okay, so just give that a little blot, just so that you're in good habits. And then we're going to cut that out. Now, obviously, when I add cutting out to the videos, that obviously takes longer. But I don't want to hide any process of the card. So I want to cut it out in the video as well. But the idea is that I'm showing you lots of different ways that you can create your 20-minute card if you want, or you can take it a little bit further just to bring it up a level. But I'm also trying to show you that this is why some of my cards take a little bit longer, because when I add all the details, that's what adds to the time. That's what adds to the interest of the design as well. And that's what I'm trying to show you. But I also want to appeal not just to crafters that have been doing it for 20 years. I want to appeal to crafters who are just starting out. They don't feel motivated, or to crafters that are a little bit stuck in a rut and want some ideas. And that's why I've shown you the first step if you just want to create a 20-minute card. And this is why they're called, these little ones are called Tracy snippets, mainly because I want to show you snippets and how to extend the design. So sometimes I'll do snippets that just last 20 minutes and we cut off. But I also want to do some videos where I do 20 minutes. You can stop the video and just leave it at that, or you can extend it like I'm doing if you've got the time, and extend the design. So it's entirely up to you what you wish to do. But it's just trying to give as many ideas as possible. So just some ideas have been around for many, many years. I've been doing this now for about 26 years, and some ideas have been around many, many years. And you just, as demonstrators, you might adapt some of those ideas. But it's lovely if you can adapt them, add one of your own little touches. Maybe you add a little different embellishment. It just gives it your own little touch. It's entirely up to you. So just cut this out. Okay, so we've now got our flower, and if I was being pernickety, I should have done this before I actually cut the flower out. I'm just going to cut this little bit of white out, and what I should have done was cut this before I cut the whole flower out. I should have done this first, because it makes it a lot harder for you. You don't have to cut this white bit out if you don't wish. Again, that's Tracy being pernickety. There we go. So what I'm going to do then is bring the card in. There's your 20-minute card. And I'm now going to bring this in, and I'm going to add to it a little bit more. You could bring it there if you wanted, but I want it here just to bring this in. Now, we're going to change it up a bit. What I'm trying to show you is how you can change it. As a demonstrator, it's very difficult trying to appeal to everybody, just so that you all get something from the video. So I'm always trying to be a little bit different. So you've got your 20-minute card in this video, but now I'm showing you how you can change the video, how you can change the card and make it look different. And how I, in my processes, change everything. So I'm just showing you that as well. So let's just get some sisal. So now what I'm showing you is how I make the card, how I take the card to the next level. That's what I'm showing you. So just add this a little bit more sisal, a few more longer lengths. So what I'm showing you is when I'm sitting here, when I've done the first part of the background, I then sit and think, right, what can I do to take that up a level? And it's showing you that process as well. Right. So let's just stick the other piece of double-sided 3D foam tape. I did clean my scissors, so I was very good. I did clean the scissors. Let's just add some adhesive just to those, just to make sure that those stick nicely. Now we need to make this pop as well. Let's make sure that we don't get the bird's nose. There we go. So what we need to do is we need to make the, well, let's stick the stem down. We need to make this pop a little bit. There's something that we need to do to make this pop. And of course, I've got a piece of sisal nest bang on where I want it to stick down. Of course I have. There we go. No, we're not, that isn't, there we go. Let's just hold that down for a few moments. That's it. So what I want to do now is bring in a piece of Bristol Smooth. So I'm bringing in a piece of Bristol Smooth card, just so that, oops, sorry for nudging the phone. What I want to do is bring in a piece of Bristol Smooth, just so I know it will really, because it's so smooth, it'll really react with the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm using Villainous Potion. Do you know, I thought I got the wrong name then. Now I'm only going to colour one petal in, or a part of this, not all of it, because I've already got 2 done. I haven't cut them out, but I've got 2 done. So we're just going to take Villainous Potion, stamp the flower with Villainous Potion. Just take your time. Well, that's terrible stamping. Terrible stamping. Let's just ink that again. I don't think I inked that properly. So let's just ink that a bit better. That's what happens when you don't give good even pressure on your stamp, or you don't ink properly. That's what happens. That's why you should never be in a rush. That's better. So what I want us to do then is just make sure that my brush is clean. And what I want you to do is colour the flower. And all I want you to do is just blend the colour. Because you've used that Villainous Potion, and I'm using a Bristol Smooth card paper, it works beautifully. Because this Bristol Smooth is exactly what it says on the tin, it's smooth, you can really blend. Now, you can either go like that, okay, where you colour the whole stem, the whole flower, and put white highlights on, or what I like to do is drag the colour out from the top, like so. And what I like to do is just leave a white highlight. So let me show you the difference. So I've left a white highlight across there. On that one I haven't, because you can either draw it in with a white gel pen or leave the white highlight in place with your colour. But what you need to do then, so let's bring in, so I've done this twice. As you can see, I've left the white highlights, okay? And then what I've done is let that dry. Then what you do is get your Villainous Potion again, pick up some of that neat ink, and then you just go in and add a little bit more of the darkness, just a little touch of darkness. Now I'm adding 2 layers. You can add 1 layer if you wish. I'm adding 2 layers, but only the top layer needs this doing, because obviously you're not going to see that bottom layer, are you? So it's only the top layer that's going to see this little touch of colour. So I'm just adding more of that Villainous Potion, just as a little bit of darkness. I've put my card straight over the colour, but there you go. So just add a little touch of that darkness. Just around here, it would be a little bit darker, just around here. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, Tracy, why do I let it dry? Because if you work your card too much, you're just going, it's just going to, even though this card's designed to have moisture, if you just play around with the card too much, you don't give it chance just to settle. And so you've got time to add those layers. The layers become more visible if you just give the card time to rest. So just blend that out, just so it's got a little bit of darkness. Little bit of darkness. It's not much, it's just a little bit of a dark touch. And I just think it's worth it. Just a little bit, let me just show you. Just a little bit of darkness just around the edges. So I know it's not the most interesting viewing, watching somebody cut out, but I'm going to cut out live on the video. It's just what I do. It's what I prefer to do. I prefer, me personally, to give you more videos and more ideas than spend half a day editing everything out within an inch of its life so that it looks perfect. Because I like you to see that I'm not perfect. I like you to see that. I like you to see that it's natural that we make mistakes. It's natural that not everything goes to plan. And it's also natural, for me personally, this is just my opinion, you know, it doesn't mean that anybody else is wrong in what they are doing. For me personally, I like you to see me warts and all, because then you realise that everything is achievable. Everything that we do is achievable. And it doesn't matter how you change that up or how you change that down, it's entirely up to you. It's your card. So just, there we go. And I'm just, normally you haven't seen me add layers to this flower. I've just kept it as a 1-layer flower. But when you're designing stamps, you want to give lots of ideas. So it's just to give those ideas. You don't have to cut the stem out on this flower. Do I need to cut the stem out? Yes, I think I will, just to give it a bit more dimension. I won't on the last one, I won't cut the stem out. But you can see, because I've added the white highlights, I've sort of kept them in without drawing with a gel pen. It sort of really lifts that colour. Let's just cut that out. Lovely, easy flower to cut out. It's not difficult at all to cut out. There we go. So there's one flower that we've cut out. Okay, and I'm going to just add some dimension to that because I want it to have some life. So I'm going to use my mat and my professional tool. Now, all you professional people out there that have got your ball tools, you use those. I've got a ball tool somewhere, but I'm just using the back of my scissors. It works, and that's what matters. So let's just move that out of the way. Let's bring in our card. I'm trying to show you the difference when you extend the design, when you extend it a little bit, and you take a little bit more time. And I'm also trying to show you, because I don't want to, you know, hide any details from you, trying to show you, you know, why I sometimes do things and why I sometimes take it to the next level. Everybody's different, and I adore simple cards as well. It doesn't always have to be about complicated designs. So just add a little bit of adhesive to that. And this has now got some lovely dimension to it, which is beautiful. Rather pleased with it, even if I say so myself. There we go. I will lift it up so you can see all the dimension. That's it. There we go. I will lift it up so you can see that. But what we're going to do is do the next one. We're going to cut this out. Let's just make it so that I've got less card, because there's nothing more irritating than having all that card. Just place the lid on my glue, or else it will, she says as she drops it 3 times, it'll just dry up. So we're just going to cut these out again. And again, if this part of the video is a little bit too long for you, you can fast forward the cutting out and just go past it. And then you don't have to listen to my waffle. I like waffling. Makes me feel like you're here with me. Plus, I do spend a great deal of time talking to myself. Let's tell the truth. I spend a lot of time on my own in the craft room. So let's be honest, I do speak to myself. It's just what I do. So this time we're not cutting it out as a whole. We're just cutting the flowers out separately. So there's one flower, and then we're going to cut out the top part of the flower. And this time without the stem. Just to give a little bit more dimension. And I do love this sort of the white highlights. That really works for me. The birds are starting to sing now. And it's coming up to evening. They're still singing. I've got a lot of birds nesting now. So I'm glad I got all my cutting back done earlier on, so that I don't affect any nests. Right. Look at the state of this. There's card everywhere. Let's add some dimension to these. Just use the back of my scissors again, just to add that life to that design. And let's just curl a little bit. So they're still domed, but just curl the petals a little bit. There we go. Let's move that out of the way so you can actually see what I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that foam tape, but this time I'm just going to add it a little bit towards the base, not on the top. Let me just make that a bit smaller. Stick that on there. So just sticking a little bit of the tape towards the bottom of the flower heads. That's it, they're both off. Just add a little bit of adhesive to those. Trying to be good and remembering to put my lid just on there. So I'm just going to press that on the bottom there, and then while I'm holding it, I can bend these petals a little bit more just to add life. So I can place that on there on the base like so, and then while I'm holding it, I can bend the petal. Just let me lift that just so that you can see it's got a little bit more life to it. If I just do that, you can see the depth. And can you see it just pops with it being that purple? You see, now what I do is when I'm faffing, because it's what I do, I will go back with the grey. Let's make sure that it is grey and not purple. I will go back with the grey, and where there's some light areas, I would go back and just go over, just to add a little bit more depth of colour. So if it's a little bit light in areas, just, it's good fun as well with the sisal nest. But I do think it's not until the card's settled that you start to see where you just need a little bit more dimension. And also it's very difficult because you can't do this on TV. You can't faff, but you can faff if you've got the time. That's why I'm trying to show you different ways of doing things and in thinking things. But if you look, when I'm adding the second layer of colour, what it shows is that it gives depth and dimension to the design by adding the darker colour, by adding another layer of that colour. It does give it a little bit more depth. And I think I'm trying to show you as well why sometimes I do faff. Why I do faff with some of the techniques. So just adding a little bit more grey just around here. And it's just, I think it's good to just show what difference it makes. There we go. So let me wipe that up so we don't get in a mess. So just so that you can see that, you can see that, but even on its own, this background works perfectly on its own. So what I'm going to do now is add a sentiment. So let's go to our stamps that are now all over the floor. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this stamp set because it's got Grown with Love, and it's even got One of a Kind, and I think that's just a perfect sentiment to go on there. So that is stamp set 662, One of a Kind, and I just think that goes on there beautifully. Let's take one of these stamps off so we can use the acrylic block. And I think I'm going to add a little bit more shading just around the bird as well, because I just think it needs a bit more. Right, so let's grab that black ink. I love how all the stamp sets mix and match. Just think it's fab. Grown with Love. And I can hear my old girl barking, and that'll be because Ian has got some carrot out, and she loves a little bit of carrot. And if he walks out of the room and goes into the lounge or something, maybe to look on the score of the football or something, she starts barking as if to say, don't forget me, I want my carrot. So she often does that. It does make me smile. There we go. Just make that a little bit thinner with the white card. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of the villainous potion and just add a little bit just around the edges of the card. There we go. And what you've ended up with this card is 2 for 1. You've ended up with showing you how you can change it up and how you can keep it simple. So it's like 2 cards in 1. And then I'm just going to place this just like that. I've just added adhesive just on the ends of the sentiment, like so. And what I'm going to do is just take that grey once again, so that hickory smoke, and I'm just going to add a little bit more just around the bird, just to make it pop a little bit more. Just makes it pop a little bit more for me. So pick up that. But because I adore creating, for me, it's not a chore, it's a pleasure. So I do tend to faff quite a bit. So you just have to be aware that I will faff on my videos. So just add a little bit more. But it's great, isn't it? Because you can use your distress oxides, how you can watercolour with them. It's lovely when a product does more than one thing. Just so that you can see that. I love that background. Just love that background. And if you wanted to, you could add a little bit more detail. So we've got this one-of-a-kind stamp set. We've got this background stamp on here. And what we can do is just take the little background stamp and just bring it up a little bit more. So we can add a few letters there, like so. And let's add some on the bottom corner. Just to just take your time. I love the faffing. It's just, it brings me a lot of pleasure. There we go. It brings me great pleasure. Let me just add a little bit. Let me just move that. Love this stamp. So what I've done is I've added the 5 down. It says garden. I've added the text here and I've added the text here, and I just love that. And obviously if you were being really professional, you'd add an insert to your card. So I'm going to add some white splatters just to make that grey pop even more. Try not to get it on your words, just so that you can see that it says grown with love. And I don't think I've got purple sequins. Let me see. There might be some purple in here. Oh, there is. So let's grab a couple of sequins. I tell you what, when I do sequins, they're always the wrong way. They're always the wrong way round. Because when I've done that purple on the flower, I want to bring the purple into the background. I don't want it to look like I've just slopped everything together, because that's just not what I want. So just add these sequins. Lovely. Let me just, are you the right way round? No, it's not the right way round. Another one. And I want an odd number of sequins. So let's just grab a, have we got a little tiny one? There we go. That's it. So we can just put those sequins back. Let me just put them in the container. And that is your card done. Now I'd love to hear your feedback. I hope I'm doing the right thing. I hope I'm helping in some way to inspire you, and helping in some way for you to use your stamps and them not gather dust on the shelf. But I've absolutely loved creating that. And I think this technique in the background, I'm going to do a few more cards like that, I think. Definitely. And cut them up in different ways. Can you imagine if we cut this in 3 instead of 2? Just to give it a different look. So I think I'm going to do some more cards like that. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for your company. Thank you for watching me. And thank you for your wonderful feedback and your support of my stamp designs. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.